Welcome to season one, episode three of We Two Real Life Stories with Real Life Couples. I am your real life host, Dr. Jessica Tartaro. You are about to meet Nico and Hazel-Grace. Nico and Hazel-Grace have been together for 7 years. Hazel-Grace is a colleague of mine and a friend. I've worked with them on and off for the last 10 years. They also teach as a relationship coach. Nico, I had the privilege of meeting recently, and I must say, having known Hazel-Grace as long as I have, I've never seen them so happy in a relationship. Both of these individuals speak to how unique, potent, and healing this relationship is compared to other relationships they've both had, how much reverence they both bring for each other, respect and reverence, how generous they are with their thank yous, how they say please, how they clear the channel of their relating often so that they can stay sparky, in fact, get sparkier over time. You're going to hear this couple talk about 2 episodes of conflict between them, and they're very revealing. They talk specifically about how triggered they each got and how they worked through it. And not only worked through the conflict, but got closer on the other side of it. In fact, on the other side of it, that's how they were able to keep the spark alive, is because they were so honest in the process. I am so excited for you to spend time with this couple, Nico and Hazel-Grace. Enjoy episode 3 of We Two. And we're live. I don't
Great.
Welcome, Nico and Hazel-Grace, to episode 2 of We Two Friends, which is really just being in your living room, home,
My tiny house,
your tiny house, and hanging out with me tonight.
which is a 1 minute walk away from Nico's tiny house.
Which is important information within the first 60 seconds of landing. I almost want to say, like, let everyone take in your outfits and let's just use this moment to breathe together. Would you be willing to join me in a breath and also let me appreciate the beauty that is your color and just those ties. I don't even know what to say. How is it to be landing here and preparing to let me meet you more and knowing that other people will see this too? How are you both feeling arriving tonight?
Yeah, I'm feeling really good. It's this first moment in the day that I'm kind of just like slowing down. I was going like crazy right up until I took a shower to come over here. So yeah, feeling worked physically in my body and excited to be here.
Amazing.
Uh, I'm super stoked, particularly because, well, one, I did 2 other podcasts today interviewing other people, so it's nice to be interviewed. I'm like, oh, cool, I get to sit back and relax. And also, I want to name that Nico said, this is the first podcast I'm actually excited to do with you. We've done many podcasts, and because of our intro call, he was like stoked. This is his stoke face, by the way.
I love so many things about what you just said. One, like, here's how to interpret this human non-verbally, but also I feel really honored that though you've done other podcasts, this is one that you feel excited about.
Yeah.
Yeah, what has you feeling excited?
Well, I really loved your intro call and just getting to meet you beforehand. That was really helpful in setting the stage and yeah, and just short little conversations that we had in preparation for this and just feeling excited about what it is that we're gonna get to share here and just having this little window into our lives is pretty special.
It really is. I'm just pausing, appreciating. So I'll share for people who are not us that Nico, you and I met this week. We just met.
Mhm.
And Hazel-Grace, that's not the case for you and me. We've known each other I think we figured out close to 10 years, we think.
Yep.
So just, full disclosure, we are colleagues, we are longtime friends. I haven't actually seen you in ages, but we do similar work. Our paths have done a little bit of this. And then I can't help but tell the story that now, Nico, you've heard. Hazel-Grace, we're now repeating the story, but it's just such a cool story. You ended up on my program because on Christmas Day, you texted me. We text every so often, the kind of friends you can go a year, change, not texting, and then just drop in. You texted me, you said, Merry Christmas. I got an idea. I want to do a podcast featuring couples, and you are a relationship coach like me, and you specialize in doing work specifically around helping people repair through conflict. And you said, I want to feature how couples manage conflict in a podcast. What do you say? Would you and your partner like to be on the show? And I was like, cool. I got the same idea. Yes. And would you and your partner like to be on my show?
And here we are.
And here we are a couple of months later. So here we are on a parallel path, and both of us really getting the importance of letting the world into how couples, especially and particularly committed couples, work through the real life challenges and also kind of grow the gifts that make love not just last, but kind of worthwhile.
Mm.
Yeah. And I will say that after my intro call with you, I'm really excited too. Let me give a little more context, and then I'd love to just kind of turn it over to you two, and you get to just play as a couple, just knowing that you have a very eager audience here and probably a bunch of other people eventually who'll be listening. So you two have been together for 7 years. I'm going to make sure I get the languaging right. Hand welding is the ceremony that you've done. Every year, you do a ceremony every year to recommit to your partnership. You identify as poly. You live together as in shared land, but in separate dwellings on 78 acres. Did I get that right? Like a huge amount of land with other folks on the property. And then, Nico, you do mobile sawmilling. When you say you were very physical today, like, that's no joke, just from what I know about being a sawyer, mobile sawmilling. And Hazel-Grace, I've already named, you do relationship coaching and teaching. So it's just like putting you a little bit on a map for folks. And what I'd love to do, kind of the first question that I told you we were going to launch with, is to ask another way of putting this question is, what is beautiful here? I asked you to talk about your gifts or strengths, but as I was preparing for this interview and thinking of you two, I thought to phrase it like that. What is beautiful here? Who would like to share?
I'll start, and am reminded of this post that I recently posted on Facebook, that it was very short and the picture was really sweet, and I was kind of crying and Nico was holding me, and I said, I'm sorry, Nico, for being so high maintenance and for needing you to hold me so much. And Nico responded with, it's my honor. I love getting to hold space with you. And what I said was, for the thousands of people that I have helped behind me is this human who holds me so that I can hold other people. And I've held people in deep spaces. And, I kind of think about, like, how did I do what I did before him? And I'm sure I did a fine job, but the level and the capacity that I have now, because I have such a solid anchor that's with me and behind me, is the first thing that comes to mind, because I know that, my work is, it is as close to my soul as I could possibly imagine. My work is me. And I also wanted to mention the reason why we're wearing robes is for the explicit reminder for me that I am having this conversation with you, Jessica, as a human being in a relationship, and not on I'm a relationship coach hat. And of course the tiny ties represent that we are a part of the tiny tie society.
Which is a whole nother podcast. Yeah, I'm not even going to chase that particular part of it.
Oh no, let that one go.
I'm so, first of all, so proud of you. Can I say that? Like, it is not, there's so many things I could say. It's not easy to take off that role. In that it's so close to your soul. At the very least, it would take being half naked to dismantle that. But it's a gift. It's a real gift that you're willing to be the human behind the coach. So, but your share about he holds me so I can hold everyone is so monumental. Nico, I'd love to hear anything you want to add to that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just really present to how grateful I am for our dynamic of support, mutual support and care. We're so blessed that we have the abundance of like energy to give one another and towards our relationship, and the reciprocity that feels so easeful is really, really, yeah, it's present often. So I'm aware of that, and yeah, I feel like the thing that's on top for me right now is just continuing to be grateful for the ways that we get to grow and love each other more deeply over time. Like the longer we're in relationship, the more we're in love. And that feels like the special sauce. Like that's yeah, there's nothing better than that, to just continually be in this NRE, like new relationship energy, and just being present to like, who's this person in front of me right now? Who am I relating with right now? And all of our different aspects that are welcome here. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm really wanting to pause with that. What you said, the longer we are together, the more we are in love. And I'm not sure what was more compelling, what you said or Hazel-Grace, your face. Oh, when he said that.
It's usually the most compelling thing in the room is Hazel-Grace's expressions on their face.
Uh-huh.
Beauty of what you shared is a close second for sure. It's a big deal what you're saying. Longest term couples is who I often end up seeing in my coaching practice, and they say the opposite, or often the experience is the opposite, that there's a fading rather than a continued polishing or continued discovery. It's like I want to know and know more about what makes that possible. And I also appreciate that it's such a countless amount of things that you do and don't do. But I wonder if I could ask this. Did you start with this feeling of kind of infinite discovery, or was this something that you two kind of cultivated, or was there a trial and error? I'm curious about you've been together 7 years. Is there an arc or a trajectory of that?
Well, I kind of smirked because the first time I saw him, he came to a workshop of mine. I flew to Nevada City, which is where we live now in California, and I didn't know anyone. And normally when I'm at workshops, I'm not hunting, I'm not looking, and everyone's going around the room saying their name, and Nico says his name, and I said in my head, ugh, not that guy. To this guy. That was my instant reaction to him, which is funny that I would even have a thought of assessing whether I would be interested in someone or not, because that's not normally how I operate. And then later in the event, I thought he was sitting by himself, poor guy. So I went over there to do my job and to make sure he feels included. And he's sitting down and I'm standing up, and he looks up at me, and I just got like hit, like, oh my gosh, he's beautiful. And we later engaged. It was a sensual event, and I was so impressed that he was listening to the exercises that I did, because he was practicing asking consent in the way that I taught it. And I was like, and he listens? I was just like blown away. And I don't know how spicy we can get on this conversation, but I will just say that he was not touching me, and I was having orgasmic energy running through my body. And at that point, I said, I need to go check on everyone else. And he was like, no, I think the party's fine. I'm like, no, I need to go check on the rest of the event. So that was our first night of meeting. And it was just deep and instant. And we went on a date the next 2 nights later, and I still feel this like firework in my heart in his presence, and there's a depth to it now. And part of that depth is the big mini ruptures that we had over the 7 years, that because we were able to get to the other side, it's like the firework is still here, the spark is still here, but there's a depth and a foundation because of our ability to navigate those dark, hard, crunchy times.
Wow. Yeah. Nico, we already know this. We've presenced this, that Hazel-Grace is more likely to talk. And I will ask you specifically if you want to add, but if I don't ask it, will you jump in should you have something to add?
Yes, I'm quite skilled at interjecting when I have a potent share. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Great. Okay. Then I'll just reflect on, I love your origin story so much. I think it's actually very helpful for anyone meeting you as a couple to hear the origin story, but not always necessary. I don't usually ask for it. But to think, first of all, you were an ugh, which is so interesting. You know what I mean? The intensity was there. It was just the opposite charge, but the intensity was still there. It was a strong aversion, but aversion attraction, man, there's sometimes there. I had a strong ugh to my husband, by the way, when I first met him, just sidebar, terrible. Okay, but wait, listen to that for your podcast. One thing that you shared as the kind of backdrop to the story, but I'd love to bring it to the foreground, is you met in a workshop about intentional relating of some form, right? It sounds like sensuality or sexuality was a big centerpiece, but intentionality in connection. So you all absolutely, the doorway was practices, which is awesome. Yeah.
His wife, he was there with his wife. We're poly, but so we were also practicing poly on the first night that we met.
Yeah. Wow.
I'd like to say this feels relevant to the like continued spark and like interest and like that we share and how we nerd out in a relationship. What struck me first of all when I saw Hazel-Grace facilitating in front of a room was, so I was in a room full of friends, of people that I had been in community with for some years. And in the first 15 minutes, I felt more connected and more alive in relationship with these humans than I had in all those years of us knowing each other. And I was like, whoa, like what is this person doing? Like how did they, through certain practices so quickly bring a room into connection like that? So I was intrigued right from the get-go.
What did you say about Texas?
You're
like, all right, Texas.
Oh yeah.
Because I had flown I'm from Texas, and so he was.
I had no idea who Hazel-Grace was. I knew nothing about them. I didn't even know what was happening that night because I get invited to things and I go and I don't even know what's going on. And I couldn't remember Hazel-Grace's name, and I was just like, who's this person from Texas? Like what's going on here? So that's continued to be a thing, is like I didn't realize that I was like a connection and relationship nerd until I realized that that was a thing. And that continues to just be a big part of like how we are so deeply connected. And I like to say emotionally current often is like we're very in touch with like what's happening right now and working through things and geeking out on different things that happen in our relationship. And we can just talk for hours and hours and hours. So that feels like a big spark.
Well, that's amazing. Let me see if I've got this straight. You totally, Nico, identify as a relationship nerd, but you didn't know that you were until you met Hazel Grace?
Yeah.
Really? What a like I could not design a better human for you.
Totally.
But I
You
love
know,
no, you please.
okay. The other thing that I think is true is before meeting me, Nico didn't know how brilliant he is. His mind, he's brilliant. He is absolutely brilliant, and he grew up with learning disabilities around dyslexia and academia. The way it's taught, it doesn't work for his brain. He's a verbal, an auditory learner, and I am constantly learning from him. There's a constant loop of teaching, learning here, and he reads like 3 books a week now, and then like he'll on Audible, and he'll come home and I'll just download all the stuff to me. So and we have joked. I've spent about $250,000 on education and trainings and certifications, and we've joked that he's found a way to basically, for no money, absorb $250,000 worth of learning by being in relationship with me.
Okay.
Proxy education.
Yeah, well done. Well, you divide it by two. It's still high. I love this though, because what you're saying is we meet as allies, as counterparts, as aficionados, like people who celebrate deepening together. Do you know the word amateur, by the way, has the root love in it, ama? It's one who loves the thing, amateur, but like in its root sense, your practitioners, lovers of learning and certainly learning about intimacy, and the doorways you've taken are like polar opposite. I don't know if that's fair to say, but so very different doorways, and you found each other in the middle, is what I'm hearing. A place where both of your strengths are celebrated.
Yeah, and I've learned. He's taught me so much about building, and I live on land, as you said. Now I built the yurt platform, and I figured out how to build or dig drainages, and this has actually been therapeutic for me, because when I was in middle school, my parents wouldn't let me take wood shop because I'm a girl. And I remember that being infuriated. And then I've always just had this belief that, like, oh, I'm mechanically speaking, I'm not very good. I'm not very good. And he just continues to be like, yes, you're brilliant here. Yes, give me your ideas. Like, stay engaged. And so he's helped me in that way, as well. And I think that's what makes our relationship extraordinary. Is like, we've just given you a few examples, but that just keeps going in so many different aspects of being human.
Yeah, yeah. I'm really touched by that. Each of you changing your narrative about capacities you thought were vulnerabilities or weaknesses, each of you changing that narrative through each other, and then discovering, like, I can wield a saw, I can digest a book in 48 hours. Oh my gosh.
I feel like a story that has been really valuable for me in rewriting has been because Hazel Grace is the purest extrovert I've ever met, and I'm pretty introverted. I need space, and I've generally been overwhelmed by people in my life. Um, and I've rewritten this narrative in my mind that instead of people are draining, that certain interactions and like certain exchanges are life-giving. And so like tapping into that energy of like what am I getting from an interaction and how does it light me up and how do I feel afterwards, as opposed to like the blanket statement like people are draining.
Mm.
So that's a really beautiful way that I feel like I've gotten to learn from Hazel-Grace how to be more extroverted and get energy from people.
Well, I think that's what, if I remember correctly, I think that was because you started seeing how I was socializing and you were recognizing that I curate things, meaning there are certain people I exclude from certain things, and there's certain people I include to certain things based on my desires and based on what it is or what I'm wanting and what the event is. And Nico's like, "Oh, you can do that? You can not invite people?" I'm like, "Oh yeah. You could definitely not invite people. Like excluding sometimes is a way of including in some cases." And so that was revelatory for Nico because of the culture that he's come from, which was like wildland firefighting, for example. He's with a crew of 12 for 6 months, and that's who you got. And you just learn how to be with those humans. So it's been fun to watch him uh, have choice around who he chooses to engage with.
Yeah, that's really huge. Well, I'm very much hearing it's like you both are really paying attention to what the other does and what they do well, and then sampling it. Like I really hear you're like, ooh, I hear you didn't say this, so tell me if this resonates, but like this person is a teacher to me in both directions. It really comes across that way, and that you're really um, avid students of each other. Does that translate? Tell me if you would say it differently, but it sure sounds that way.
Yeah, definitely. I think that is, yeah, I think that's also at the root of continued connection and fire and spark in our relationship, is that we're in that sort of reverent teacher student swapping role kind of thing.
And it's been Nico in the last couple of years has actually been assisting me in some of my work around teaching art of repair and relationships. And he's an extraordinary teacher. I mean, I have 25 years of facilitating, and he just naturally knows how to do it. I have gotten to take some chainsaw classes with him as the teacher and
as a student.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was a student. He's a teacher. And he's just a naturally gifted teacher. And so, yes, we are playing the role often of teacher student within our relationship just by the way that we are, but also he's an extraordinary teacher as like an archetype.
Yep. Yeah, you both are teachers, so it lends itself. Well, it's not symbolic. It's real. And it comes across. I mean, it comes across in the way that, you're not teaching right now, but I know you both know how to really be present and show up and transmit, just transmit, right? Which isn't like you can teach and you can teach concepts, but to transmit is to be in relationship and an energetic kind of transaction. I'm experiencing that with you. I suppose, like I just have so many more questions now that we're talking halfway into our time, but I really do want to hear a little bit more, if I may, about how you've alchemized the ruptures, because both of you spoke to this in various ways. You said in your application, so I have all the couples who I interview give me answers to questions so that I can kind of start percolating and understanding you. And you talked about turning intensity into connection was the phrase you used that I thought was fascinating. I'd love to hear about, if you're willing to give an example of a rupture, recent, historic, it's up to you. And this idea of how getting to the other side has really helped that spark stay sparky. Would you be willing to give an example of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, do you want to talk about insurance card or Canada?
You choose.
Okay, we'll talk about Canada. Okay. So this last May, Nico's dad got married, and the night before we were going to fly to Canada, he's Canadian, and the night before we were going to fly to Canada, he realized that he did not know where his green card was. And we made the choice for me to go on the trip without Nico, which means I was going to Canada with his family, with whom I didn't know his family. And it was a very brave choice. It was an 8-day trip and staying with the bride and groom. And I had a lot. I was very graceful and spacious in the process of him. It was just a mistake. He found it later, and it was tragic, right? And it took a lot of courage for me to go, for many different reasons. And during the ceremony, I was walking around showing his family the FaceTime. I'm like, here's Nico. And I was like having Nico connect with everyone. And he said, I'll call you. I said, do you want to talk to more of your family members? He said, no, call me later at the reception. I said, okay, I'm going to be at the reception. And he's like, okay, I'm going to be available. And I'm giving the only speech toast at the talk or at the ceremony, which was Nico's wrote the speech. So I'm speaking on behalf of Nico. And then I go to call him, and he doesn't pick up the phone. And so the whole night of the reception, I'm texting him, I'm calling him, I'm feeling quite lonely and vulnerable. And I felt so dropped by him. And I'm not proud of how I talked to him later it was like midnight when I got home, and he picked up the phone, and I was yelling. I was totally unhinged. I was just like holding so much for so many people. And yeah, I just completely was yelling, and he was just hearing me. He's like, yep, I hear you. I hear you. And he was just he didn't get elevated. And it didn't take long for me to calm down after I was just basically yelling, because there was nothing for me to push against. He was just like, yes, yes, I hear you. And that makes sense. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And I remember the next day I called him to say, hey, I want to check in. Do you want to have a repair about how I was being with you? Because the truth is, I don't like how I was being with him. I didn't like me yelling and saying, I felt just like inappropriate, mean things. And he was like, actually, Hazel-Grace, that was actually helpful for my process. And I don't have any need for you to apologize, or I don't have any impact to share with you. It was actually supportive for me just to feel the fullness of my upset. That's my side of the story. I'm curious if there's anything you want to add.
No, I mean that's basically it. Yeah, and it was obviously devastating and really challenging, and yeah, it was it was a really hard night, and I feel like it took a while to unpack and to come back into connection, and we didn't get to see each other for a number of days after that, and so that was really challenging. But yeah, I feel like there was a lot of trust in that it was being felt on both sides and being present, and it wasn't I feel like one thing that's helpful for for us in our process is we have an agreement that nothing's ever really totally closed. Like it's really helpful for me to be able to find some measure of completion in like in a rupture and be able to put it down. And we also have an agreement that, you know, if there are more impacts, if there are more things that come up, that we're here for it. Um, you know, in the right time, in the right space. So yeah, just like a lot of trust in our ability to come back into connection, even though it was a huge disconnect and huge loss of connection.
Yeah, I hear that at multiple levels. It's a powerful story. I just want to name for folks who might not know that Hazel-Grace, you teach a very specific repair process. It's called repair, and you offered to Nico to do that process uh, around your sharing that night. And Nico, you said you didn't need it. So just naming that you two have a go-to strategy. You didn't use it that night. Nico, can I ask you, Hazel-Grace said that when they offered a repair, your response was no, and something about the fullness of Hazel-Grace's fury was important for your process. Can you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important in relationship to be able to be unfiltered and raw and get to say the things that need to be said in a light of like, okay, we're really elevated, we're really dysregulated right now. And really just like trusting the higher like trusting that there is good intent, like there is love here, you know, overarching, like trusting the deep care that exists in relationship, and just knowing that in a moment, you know, we need to let things move, and we need to be in it. And and I like I chose to be with a really fiery person, and so that means I get to sit in the fire. And um I will name that I feel like I have a high ability, like a high level of ability to be with and hold um intensity and charge and emotion, and like and not be reactive to it. Um I recognize that that's not necessarily common or easy for a lot of folks to be able to be in a receptive, actually still here with you, present and non-reactive. Um, but yeah, it felt, even though it was like it was wildly intense and hard and challenging and literally just straight fire, it was like, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. You're that upset. Yeah.
Yeah, and I also say there was also some discernment. Zoom keeps doing this thumbs up. There's also some discernment on my end, and what that was is like I actually have experience with us being able to be in our full rawness with one another. That part of me could also trust that he could be with it, and if my fury, expression of fury was not being received, or it was escalating, or it was going back and forth, I probably would have ended it, found some place to express my fury so that I can come back and like have a repair conversation without the full fire. So there was also some trust building in the safety and the permission of me being that full out. However, that was to a degree that we've not had to go to very many times. That was a unique circumstance that doesn't, it's not like I'm in fury and fire all the time. This is like we can count on our hands of levels that I've needed to emote at that level.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm happy to take any other question you have, but I also want to say we have another example because it feels important to me that a story is told where I'm being the jerk and made a mistake as well, if there's time for it. But I'm happy to take your lead as well.
Let's leave time for it, 100%, because that's like very fair of you. But I just want to say it's so brave that you two told that story.
Thank you.
Just it feels, in that it's your coupledom at an outlier moment, like not representative. You're not dragon breathing with any regularity. On one hand, you can count the number of times. So one, for you to say, yeah, I have a process and I teach it and I know how to regulate. And in that moment, all of that was out the window. There's so much relief happening in my body. Like, I am so grateful that you told that story. It just, it gives permission to something, but it's also, there's cautionary notes. Like, Nico, you said, well, I know that most people or a lot of people can't do this, or it's not easy to do, but I've practiced in doing it. It circles me back to that first statement that you shared, Hazel-Grace. You ground me so I can ground other people. Like, you were earth to the fire. You were grounding that enough that it burned and then it was over. Which is really what that fire always wants to do anyway, is just burn and not really hit anything and then extinguish, and then you can feel the feelings underneath it again, which is this beautiful arc. No wonder it moves so fast. So it's generous that you told that story. Both, oh, you lost the green card. God, I'm about to travel. I can't tell you how many times I've just been like, where's my passport? Oh, no, no, no. Right. Like, it's so anxiety provoking. And just like, okay, 8 days with his family. There's so much there that was a stretch for you two. Where was that in your relationship? Like, early on, year 2, where were you?
It was less than a year ago, so it was year 6.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. Oh, even more generous that it's not ancient history.
Yes. Nico did say last night, he's like, okay, I feel ready now to talk about the Canada trip, because we tell our stories a lot, and it takes time for us to be ready to reveal and share these stories.
No doubt. No.
Yeah.
Okay. So much extra gratitude just knowing this was recently digested.
Yeah.
First time sharing.
Wow.
Yeah.
How does it feel having shared it?
Yeah, it feels good. I feel like it feels good that it was, premeditated and it was the time, and I feel like I've digested it. And there's still stories and challenges that we've had that I'm not ready to share that openly. Like,
And you may never be.
and I may never be. And I'm actually a very private person. I don't use social media. I'm not on the internet. I don't contribute anything to the internet ever. I barely check my messages on my phone. And Hazel-Grace is very out in the world and very revealing of themselves and our relationship. And yeah, and there's a lot of things that if I was living on my own, I would play closer to the chest, but I chose this one.
Said that a couple different ways. I chose fire. I chose a person who is public. I really hear your commitment to that choice and the stretch that you're willing to make for that choice.
Yeah, to support what I believe is, needed medicine in the world. I think Hazel-Grace has so much to share and so much to teach that is, it's hugely potent. It's been transformative in my life, and I want for that to be experienced out in the world. So
Gorgeous.
yeah.
Yeah, gorgeous. There was a word you shared earlier that I wanted to pull out, and you're reminding me of reverence. I hear reverence.
Yeah.
I like this guy.
I see why. We have a little time left, and I could probably marinate in this for about 10 more minutes. but I also hear this desire to share another tale and give a different angle on you two. I welcome that if you have the kind of bandwidth for it. You just shared a lot. If you feel like you can rally.
Okay, I'll share it. I was really wanting him to share it, but I'll share it. Okay, so this was also recent. This is in the last couple of months. Uh, Nico texted me and said, "Can you please stop by my house when you come home?" So I walk into his tiny home and he's laying on the bed watching a movie, and he says, "I think I broke my ankle." And I pretty quickly went into problem solving mode. It's like 8 o'clock at night. And he's like, "I don't want to go to the ER." And I'm like, "Where is your insurance card?" And he's like, "I don't know where it is. I'm on the phone with my ex-wife trying to find out where it is." And I just immediately had this story of like, why why do you not know where your insurance card is? And we need to figure out which hospital you're going to go to. We need to figure out what time they are. We need to do the research so we can get your care. And I just went into full on attack criticizing him. I just went straight into criticizing him, as opposed to, oh, I don't know, care for your partner that maybe has a broken ankle. Um, so that's the base of what I remember. And I want you to share part of the story. What stood out for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was, I'm definitely more of an avoidant type person. And so I had kind of already, I'd gotten the ball rolling and I was, I was doing the things at my pace, but I was also trying to like check out, not think about the ramifications of the fact that, when I depend on my body for work, that I might, you know, be down for a while. And yeah, so I was just like taking care of myself at my own speed. And then
Which is a different speed than me.
and yeah, I felt very sort of put upon, nagged, and like this intensity and fire where I was like, I think I just need to be alone. I want you to leave actually. Um so that was sort of my knee-jerk reaction. I was just like, screw off, like this, you're being a bitch, like
And
get out of my face.
yeah, and so when I heard him say, "I think I might need some space," I don't remember you actually getting to the point of you saying, "I need you to leave now." You said, "I think I might need some
Yeah, it's
space."
like I think I might need to be alone.
And that for me was the cue of like waking me up of like, I am not being a good partner right now, and I am dysregulated right now. And so I laid on the floor and I was curling into a ball, grounding and regulating myself so that I could actually show up in a good way for him and support him in this moment of him. He did have a broken ankle, by the way, supporting my partner. And yeah, and then we were able to, and then I remember like a couple of days later, I was like, "Hey Nico, can we do that repair now?" And he's like, "I'm not ready yet." And I was like, "Okay, but can we do it now?" And I kept asking him for us to repair because I was the one who was not being kind, and I was the one that needed to restore integrity with my partner. And so I got to be patient again and wait like a loving partner for when he felt ready, because of what was also true is the desire for me to repair was coming more from my system than his system, and that you actually were like pretty all right. You were pretty all right with it, but I wasn't okay with it because that's not how I want to treat my partner. And I wanted to deeply really hear and get the impact of how I was being on him. And I wanted to apologize and let him know that was not acceptable behavior for me to treat him that way.
Y'all, I mean, just continued courage to let us see you in your rawness. Um, did you do a repair eventually?
Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah, we did.
it was very short.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, I just saw uh you really reminded me of my Sicilian grandmother when you did that. You just go, "Uh."
Yeah.
I saw that.
Uh-huh.
But I hear two things that were true and in this story that were not true in the last one for you, Nico, which was while after the fact, the size of the impact was quickly small. In the moment, you were vulnerable and you were impacted in a way
Mm.
that was overwhelming to you. I hear that both are true, that the time it took to kind of recover from that might have been quick, but that there was a place where you did something that you don't normally do, which was like, oh, I need space. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd sometimes kind of slow to react to those in those moments, but I was just like, wait a second. I'm the one here laying here with a broken foot. Like, get out of my face.
Yeah.
Um, and you know, I trust that even if I had a bigger reaction or I was like, get out of my house or, like push back harder, that Hazel Grace would have, been receptive to that.
Yeah.
Um, it's not generally how I am. But
Yeah, I can't actually in 7 years, I can't remember a time where he said, I need you to give me space. Like I actually don't even remember. I think that's why it was such a wake up of like, whoa, I've crossed the line here. If you needed to get to the level of like, I think I might need you to go away.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, and that's the goodness of a couple that has so much steadiness is when one of you really has a need, it's so um, clear
mhm.
because you don't play those cards often, right? So it's very much gets the other's attention. So I hear an interesting parallel just in terms of in that previous story, Hazel Grace, you were hurt, you really took your foot off the brake in terms of letting your pain come through. You were angry. And you really validated that, Nico, with how you showed up. I really hear Hazel Grace, you got it. That Nico, you could say, hey, I have needs for space here. And Hazel Grace, you didn't retaliate or escalate. You went, oh, I need to do my work here so that my partner who is in pain actually can at least have space for his own pain. Yeah, at least not make it worse.
Well, and to feel my care, because
Mhm.
that's where somewhere underneath there, the intention was my partner is in trouble and he needs to get help and I can help you. But the way that I went about it didn't at all feel like care. But
That
it was coming from, I'm like, oh no, we need to figure this out right
mhm.
now.
I think that was the lag time as I was like my mind was catching up to like, oh yeah, you're trying to help. I see that. Okay, now I feel like I'm being judged really hard and really put upon. And I was like, wait a second.
Well, the only reason you felt judged is because I was judging you. That's why you might have felt judged.
Well, you know what? Repair is a very particular thing. If you don't do certain things, it won't work. And taking ownership for what you did, which is exactly what just happened there. Darling, the reason you felt that way was because, in fact, I totally committed that crime. Like, so how validating. It's like, oh, the fire has nothing to hit, it extinguishes. Like the pain has no resistance, and then it can just have the space it needs. Totally. And I really, I'm tracking you two, I'm really appreciating that though this wasn't that long ago, and it doesn't sound easy at all at both ends, that I see um, you both are holding your former selves with a lot of forgiveness. Like I'm not tracking any continued like, oh wow, I'm still holding on to that at all, which really speaks to the processes that you have in place and just the good soil that you tend to constantly anyway, that you still have good soil. And in fact, you probably got closer over this. And each of you learned something about yourselves because, excuse me, but duh, that's what conflict offers, right? Oh, wow, I
Mhm.
have this thing. I get scared when my partner's hurt. Or, oh, I have this thing where my body needs attention and maybe it just takes me a while to get there. Whatever it is that you
Mhm.
mined from that, oh, you could find the gift
Mhm.
because you two had already so much hygiene in there that you didn't get waylaid. Here you are a couple months later and you're able to tell the tale. Please go ahead.
Yeah, and one of the things that Nico said earlier is that we keep each other current and the relational hygiene. And one way we do that is we have this phrase called clear the ones and twos. And what I mean by that is if you put on a scale of 1 to 10 an intensity of some sort of disconnection or rupture, the ones we were talking about were more on the 8, 9 into the intensity scale, and the ones and the twos or the threes are like the little things, and we're committed to clearing those. And we are committed to clearing the ones and the twos so that they don't become 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9s. And like that way we can just get through them so quickly so that when we do have these bigger ruptures, the only rupture we have to clear is that one. We don't have that rupture and then the other rupture. And then, oh yeah, when you did that, and then when you did that, and when you did that, because it's just like, this is the only thing that there is to clear here right now.
Mhm.
Genius.
Mhm.
Your channel is clean. Yeah.
Yeah, and it feels like yeah, again, just that continued connection and spark is like we we are committed to remaining in connection. And I've had the other experience. I've had it in relationship, long-term relationship of, sweeping things under the rug and then, it all comes out sideways and it doesn't feel good. I'm like, wow, I'm not being who I want to be in relationship. I'm not treating this person well because there's just deep, resentment of all these little things. And I feel like liberated in our connection in that we don't let it build, we don't let it fester, which is a big thing for me because I tend to be avoidant and I tend to be able to compartmentalize and put things aside. And Hazel-Grace is like, no, let's do it now. Let's do it now. Let's do it now. And I'm like, I'm not ready yet. And so, it helps keep me in balance. If we were both avoidant, like I've had in relationships, it's easier to fall into those patterns. It's easier to say like, oh, let's talk about this later and then never get to it. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, and I want to circle back. So Nico's had the experience in longer term relationships, albeit fairly healthy, but not getting to be his full, authentic, self-expressed, hygienic, clean, like up to date relationships. Um, and I, on the other hand, have experienced 20 years of pretty toxic, abusive, gnarly, unhealthy relationships. And so when I say on a daily basis that I am grateful for this man and our relationship, that is deep because I know what it's like to not have this. And last night we were like, what makes our relationship great? It's like our gratitude for what we experience because we know that what we are experiencing, not everybody gets to experience this in their lifetime. And what we're up to and what matters to us is that as many people who want to experience this get to experience this. And if by showing up and sharing our story and for teaching what we teach, may it be so. May it more and more. May this be the norm.
Oh, amen. May it be so. I will echo you. Do you know that we're at the end? You just gave us such a grand finale.
Mm.
May it be so that more couples might taste this. May it be so that the gratitude in this relationship just keeps reverberating. Hazel Grace, I heard loudly how much you know what you have because of how long you didn't have it.
Yeah.
And I imagine the daily healing of letting go, whatever bracing was there, the daily, oh, look who is at my side. I hear the gratitude from each of you both ways so, so loudly, and I'll just add my gratitude. I am so thrilled that I got the chance to be with you in this hour. There was so much gold and so much richness, and I really just have to say, I feel closer to my husband being with you. I do. I do. And I know that to me is a marker of having my own place of love opened. Um, just we have a young child. Our relationship is so needing nurturing, and you just hit me in a way that was like I found the thing underneath that is the fluid. So I want to say, just at a personal level, how much I received from being with you both, being in your field, your beautiful fuchsia and emerald field tonight. I can't think of a better way to close. Please, I can't think of a better way to close than what you just shared. But would either of you like to say any final notes before we officially end?
Yeah, I think just to express that point again of like a big part of how we live is just expressing gratitude and saying it, and the difference is, from what I used to do is I used to just think it and now I put words to it, and how wonderful it is to get to share that with each other, and how we affirm each other every day and appreciate what we have. It's really, really beautiful.
I can't stress underestimating the power of thank you, please, you're welcome, I'm sorry, I appreciate you. Like that is what that's the language that we use every single day, and it is I think it's sometimes underestimated the potency of it.
Totally.
And I also wanted to thank you, Jessica, for inviting us here and guiding us into this depthful conversation with you. And I feel just so filled up and grateful for you.
Yeah, me too.
I am so, so glad. That means a lot to me. Okay, dears. Well, we are going to close the recording here. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.